Message from our sponsors.
Digari Soakins Deluxe, a delicious on-the-go instant cereal made from a tasty combination of grated cassava tubers, creamy powdered milk, honey roasted peanuts, brown sugar. It is the perfect infusion of essential nutrients with a delicate balance of sweet crunchiness and wholesome goodness. Now you can have a healthy portion of the world's best Gari Soakins on the go, ready to eat in minutes. Digari, just add water. Available in most supermarkets. For bulk purchase, contact 024 294 2551, Ghana.
At the OAU meeting in 2013, leaders gathered to address the question of what had happened to the Pan-African spirit that had inspired Nkrumah's generation. One of the most significant outcomes of this meeting was the renaming of the OAU to the African Union in 1999. The AU was officially launched in South Africa in the year 2000, marking a critical moment in the continent's effort to come together and self-determine. However, the 2013 meeting also saw moving speeches, including one given by the then chairperson of the OAU Council, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, in Ethiopia. In her speech, she wrote an imaginary letter to Kwame Nkrumah, apologizing for not heeding his call for African unity. She acknowledged that Africa was weak because it had not come together as one, and bemoaned the fact that the continent was divided into 54 or 55 states. Her remarks illustrated the ongoing struggle to materialize the Pan-African dream of unity and integration on the continent, but also signaled the ongoing commitment to strive for a better future for Africa. She writes, date 24th January 2063, to Kwame Nkrumah at iamafrica.com, from Nkosazana at cas.gov. Subject: Africa Unity. My dear friend Kwame, greetings to the family and friends, and good health and best wishes for 2063. I write to you from the beautiful Ethiopian city of Bahida as we finalize preparation for the centenary celebration of the Organization of African Unity. Yes, who would have thought that the dream of Kwame Nkrumah and his generations, when they had called in 1963 on Africans to unite or perish, would one day become a reality. And what a great reality. At the beginning of the 21st century, we used to get irritated with foreigners when they treated Africa as one country. But the advancing global trend towards regional blocs remind us that integration and unity is the only way for Africa to leverage its competitive advantage. In fact, if Africa was one country in 2006, we would have been the 10th largest economy in the world. However, instead of acting as one, with virtually every resource in the world, land, oceans, minerals, energy, and over 1 billion people, we acted as 55 small and fragmented individual countries. The bigger countries that should have been the locomotive of African integration failed to play their role at that time, and that is part of the reason it took us so long. We did not realize our power, but instead relied on donors that were euphemistically called partners. That was the case in 2013, but reality finally dawned, and we had long debates about the form that our unity should take: confederation, a United States, a federation, or a union. As you can see, my friend, those debates are over, and the Confederation of African States is now 12 years old, launched in 2051. What was interesting was the role played by successive generations of African youth. We were a youthful continent at the start of the 21st century, but as our youth bulge grew, young men and women became even more active, creative, impatient, and assertive, often telling us oldies that they are the future and that they, together with women, form the largest part of the electorates in all our countries. End quote. It's a harsh reality that we must face, my brothers and sisters. Africa is indeed weak. We need only look at the way we are treated on the world stage to see the truth. When African leaders speak, their halls are empty, and the world doesn't seem to care. Even when we do speak, our voices are often ignored, while more minor players receive greater attention. It's a clear indication of the weakness and fragmentation of our continent. Our lack of unity has rendered us impotent and invincible on the global stage. Our own African Union, which has replaced the OAU, is struggling to assert itself and make meaningful changes. Let's be clear, my friends. We are not being naive about the call for unity. Those who believe that Pan-Africanism and African unity are mere fantasies miss the gravity of the situation we face. The reality is that Africa will be vulnerable to recolonization if we continue with business as usual. It's a hard truth that we must confront. Our past history with colonialism has made us aware of the severe consequences of disunity, and we have a moral obligation to prevent such tragedy from repeating itself. Therefore, our call for unity isn't simplistic or naive, but it is a recognition of the real threat we face as Africans. It's time to set aside our differences and work with determination and commitment towards a shared vision of a united, prosperous, and self-reliant Africa. Only then can we rise together and create a brighter future for our people and future generations. The dire state of our beloved continent is evident, with conflicts plaguing many nations. It's hard to imagine that in the year 2023, instability, violence, and war continue to be the norm across the continent. From tension in northern Mozambique to ongoing conflicts in southern Sudan, the Central African Republic, Somalia, Libya, Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Cameroon, Nigeria, and beyond, we find ourselves trapped in a seemingly endless cycle of conflict. Even as we talk about intercontinental trade, we are left to wonder if we can truly travel safely from one corner of Africa to the next. The reality cannot be ignored. Extremist factions, criminal elements, and armed groups make it difficult for people to move about freely without fear of being kidnapped or ambushed. It's clear that we must take concrete steps towards stabilizing the continent, ending conflict, and promoting sustainable development. Unless we can overcome these issues and establish lasting peace, we may well be doomed to repeat past stabilizing cycles. We continue to struggle with a fragmented currency landscape, with 33 different currencies used across the continent. Regrettably, none of these currencies is traded or used in transactions beyond Africa's borders. As a result, the continent's central banks have not been able to gain traction or achieve relevance in the global economic arena. Instead, we are stuck in a smaller regional sphere. It's a problematic situation that severely hampers our ability to leverage our resources and achieve greater economic development. To compound matters, more than 80% of transactions in Africa are conducted outside the continent in foreign currencies, such as the US dollar. The implication is that Africa remains at the mercy of economic forces beyond its control and needs to find pathways towards greater financial self-reliance to escape this cycle. Africa's diversity is often seen as a barrier to unity. But the truth is that unity in diversity is not only possible, but it is essential if we are to move forward as a continent. At the heart of human needs are the same basic essentials: security, medical service, food, infrastructure. Rather than focusing on the barriers that our differences present, we must realize the fundamental humanity we share and work to meet these basic needs. Our governments must prioritize policies and systems that provide for these basic necessities. It's like playing a piano. Both the black and white keys are equally necessary to create harmonious music. Similarly, diverse ideas and perspectives are essential to forging a successful and sustainable future for Africa. It's imperative that we collectively undertake the journey towards a new Pan-Africanism that embraces our diversity while acknowledging and addressing our shared challenges. It's imperative that we collectively undertake the journey toward a new Pan-Africanism that embraces our diversity while acknowledging and addressing our shared challenges. Those who are in government have a particular responsibility to be the champions of this journey, working together to build the necessary structures and processes to support a truly united and prosperous Africa.
Wobroni say the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating. Wait there, Gary Soakins with swag.
Taste one Gary shake, sugar
Shake.
and katie
Shake.
Now
Milk
milk
is
is
swam.
The Gary Wunyansia na set
The Gary, the B. Gary Soakins mu already made. A train so shaho. Wait there, natural taste. Ubeje biato. I was shop BM. Nemum opedu wetua. Fred 024-886-3301. Tigari, we all go chop some.
Senkaiboyi, FD Ajetu.